Good morning, Houston. I'm Armando Espinosa with eXp Realty, and this is your Houston Pulse Market Minute, Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. Here's what we've got for you today. Houston is now the number one most supplied housing market in America. Over 40,000 active listings in March alone. That's according to Homes.com data reported by The Real Deal. The Bayou City is sitting on more homes for sale than any metro in the country, and prices here are sliding while the rest of America is going the other direction. I'll break down exactly what that means for buyers, sellers, and anyone thinking about relocating to Houston. The greater Houston median dropped 1.5%, but inside the 610 loop, the Heights just sold 77 homes in 14 days on market. That's per the Houston Association of Realtors. Two markets, one city. The greater metro is cooling, the inner loop is still moving like nothing changed. I'll show you the data, neighborhood by neighborhood. Houston added only 17,500 jobs in 2025, about a quarter of a normal year. That's reporting from The Real Deal, citing the Dallas Federal Reserve. We'll talk about the energy slowdown, the healthcare boom propping up the rest of the city, and why this is actually one of the smartest windows we've seen in years for relocating professionals to buy in Houston if you know how to negotiate. And later in the show, the 5 things every relocating buyer needs to know before they sign anything in Texas: flood zones, mud taxes, homestead exemption, HOA traps, and hurricane insurance. All the stuff nobody tells you until it's too late. All that and more coming up on your Houston Pulse Market Minute. And let's get right to it. The Houston metropolitan area recorded the most active home listings of any metro in the country in March of 2026. Not Dallas, not Austin, not Phoenix, not Atlanta, Houston. 40,710 active listings. That's a 14% jump from March 2025, the highest nominal growth in the country, according to Homes.com data reported by The Real Deal on April 29th, 2026. Homes.com analyst Itziar Aguirre on the record stating, quote, increased seller activity reflects pent-up listings as some homeowners who delayed selling to protect low mortgage rates are beginning to re-enter the market, end quote. And the Houston Association of Realtors, HAR, confirmed it in their March 2026 monthly housing update released April 8th. Per HAR, single-family inventory hit a 4.7-month supply in March. The national number, according to the National Association of Realtors, is 3.8. Here's why that matters. When supply goes up and demand stays flat, prices come down. And that's exactly what's happening here. The national median sales price rose 1.3% in March to $385,000 per Homes.com. The Houston median down 2.1% to about 331,000 per the same Homes.com report. HR's own number for single family was $330,000, down 1.5% year over year. Average price down 1.2% to 420,510. Price per square foot dropped from $179 last March to $174 this March. Those numbers are straight from HR's March 2026 release. Now, look, let me give you the straight answer to the question I get 5 times a day. Is Houston a buyer's market in 2026? The honest answer: Houston is leaning buyer friendly right now, but it's not a fire sale, and it's not the same story in every zip code. Sales are actually up. Single family home sales rose 3.7% year over year. Pending sales jumped 12.8% per HAR. People are buying. They're just being smarter about it, and they're getting more for their money than they did a year ago. Affordability has actually improved in 17 of the past 20 months in Houston, according to HAR Chief Economist Dr. Ted C. Jones. In his own words from the March release, quote, although mortgage rates have advanced slightly as inflation concerns grow, affordability in March improved compared to a year ago as the typical principal and interest payment on the median priced home, assuming 20% down, was almost $106 less. End quote. That's a real win for buyers, but only if you know how to play it. HR Chair Teresa Hill of Compass Real Estate Texas added, quote, "The market is in a really steady place right now. Buyers are still active, prices are moderating, and inventory is leveling out. Interest rates will be something to watch, but the market is on solid footing this spring." End quote. Here's the part nobody on YouTube wants to say out loud. The smart money knows you don't buy when everyone's screaming buy. You buy when the inventory is fat, the sellers are tired, and the negotiation power has shifted to your side of the table. That's right now in Greater Houston, and the data backs it up. Here's where it gets interesting. If you read the headlines, you'd think Houston is just one big slow market. That's wrong. Houston is two markets stitched together, and if you don't know the difference, you'll either overpay as a buyer or underprice as a seller. Look at the data. All of this directly from the Houston Association of Realtors MLS data, March 2026. Greater Houston single family in March 2026. 7,644 homes sold, median $330,000, 67 days on market. Heights and Greater Heights, same month, same MLS, same city. 77 homes sold, median $740,000, 14 days on market, average sale price $811,401. Source HAR.com. Heights, Greater Heights Market Trends, March 2026 report. 14 days in a market where the metro average is sitting at 67 days. That's not a slow market. That's the Heights running its own race. The inner loop premium neighborhoods, the Heights, Timbergrove, Lazy Brook, Oak Forest, Memorial Villages, parts of Spring Branch. These are still moving fast when they're priced right and presented right. Why? Because the supply that's piling up across Greater Houston is mostly in the suburbs and the new construction far out zip codes. Inside the loop, well located, properly renovated, properly priced homes are still attracting multiple offers. The Heights median was 629,500 in February 2024 per HAR's historical Heights data. It hit 740,000 in March 2026. That's up roughly 17.5% in 2 years, while the broader Houston metro went flat. Memorial Villages, Memorial West, Oak Forest, Timbergrove, same pattern, strong, stable, in demand. These are not slowing down, they're rebalancing. So you might be asking, what's the best interloop Houston neighborhood for relocating professionals? The honest answer depends on your priorities. If you want walkable, foodie, bike trails, the closest thing Houston has to a small town inside the big city, the Heights and Timbergrove are unbeatable. If you want bigger lots, mature trees, top tier public schools, and you don't mind being a little further west, Memorial Villages and Memorial West. If you want value with upside, a great school zone, and a neighborhood that hasn't peaked yet, Oak Forest, both the east side and the west side, are some of the smartest plays in the city right now. Spring Branch is the wild card. Pockets of new construction next to legacy ranch homes, prices ranging from the high 400s into the millions depending on the street. The mistake I see relocating buyers make over and over, they pick a neighborhood off a map without knowing the street by street differences. In the Heights, the side of the boulevard you live on changes your insurance premium. In Oak Forest, 2 blocks can be the difference between an A-rated elementary and a transfer zone. In Memorial Villages, the difference between a Bunker Hill address and a Hedwig Village address can be 6 figures of resale appreciation over 10 years. That's why local expertise matters, and that's the part I'm built for. Let me tell you something about negotiation in this market. A few months back, I was working with a buyer relocating to Houston from a higher cost metro on the West Coast. Smart family, executive level career, 2 kids doing it the right way. Moving in summer, kids ready for the new school year, the whole plan locked in. They fell in love with a Heights home, asking just over $900,000. Beautifully staged, looked like a slam dunk. Their previous agent in the other state had told them, Houston's a hot market. You got to come in over asking. You got to waive everything. That's the kind of advice that costs people $40,000, $50,000 on the wrong day. I pulled the actual comps, not the Zillow estimate, not the listing agent's pricing strategy, the real closed sales within a quarter mile in the prior 90 days directly off the HAR MLS. Three of them had closed for less than asking. One had a price reduction before going under contract. The pricing on this specific home was about $40,000 above where the data said it should land. So we wrote a clean offer, strong, earnest money, reasonable inspection terms, no hype, 55,000 under asking. The listing agent pushed back, said the seller wouldn't move. I held the line. I explained calmly in writing what the comp evidence showed. We countered once. We landed at 48,000 under list with the seller paying for a rate buy down that took my client's monthly payment down by another $250 a month for the first 2 years. That's not me being a hero. That's just knowing how to read the market and knowing how to write an offer that gets taken seriously. Most buyers don't lose money by paying too much at closing. They lose money because they signed an offer that wasn't structured to protect them. That's what an expert negotiator does for you in this Houston market. Not the magic words, not some secret handshake, just the data, the discipline, and the relationships to back it up. Coming up on your Houston Pulse Market Minute. What exactly does $775 to $900,000 buy you in the Heights versus Oak Forest versus Memorial Villages versus Spring Branch? I'll give you the real number, the real square footage, and the real trade-offs straight from HAR. Plus the 5 things every relocating buyer to Houston needs to know before they sign anything. Flood zones per FEMA, mud taxes per the Texas Comptroller, the Texas Homestead Exemption, HOA traps, and hurricane insurance. The stuff nobody tells you until it's too late. And finally, what's coming in the back half of 2026 hurricane season, the energy story per the Dallas Fed, and where I think Houston home prices are headed in the next 12 months. Stay with me. Quick word about why this show exists and what I actually do for the people who reach out to me. My name is Armando Espinosa. I'm a realtor with eXp Realty here in Houston, member of the Houston Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. And I work with two kinds of people. One, professionals and families relocating to Houston who don't have time to learn this market by trial and error. Two, Houston homeowners who need to sell their property at the highest possible price in the shortest possible time with the fewest possible headaches. What I bring to the table is straightforward local market expertise. I track the HAR data weekly, neighborhood by neighborhood, not headlines. Direct, no hype communication. I will tell you the truth even when it costs me the deal, because that's how you build a business that lasts. An expert negotiation. I've sat at the closing table on enough transactions to know exactly where the leverage is and exactly when to push and when to hold. If you're moving to Houston, if you're thinking about selling, or if you just want to know what your home is actually worth in today's market, not a Zillow guess, a real number based on the comps that just closed on your street, text me or call me 281-455-8412 or go to selltexasrealtor.com. That's selltexasrealtor.com. And if you want more of these market updates and behind the scenes negotiation breakdowns, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Armando Houston Homes. One word. All right. Back to the market. And this is for every relocating professional buyer trying to figure out where to land in Houston. You've got a budget in the $775 to $900,000 range, maybe a little above, maybe a little below. You want inner loop or just outside the loop. You want commute efficiency. You want school options. You want resale value. Here's what that actually buys you right now in Houston. And every number I'm about to give you is directly from the HAR.com market trends data for March 2026. Heights and Greater Heights. Median sale price right now is $740,000. Average is $811,401. Days on market, 14. Source. HAR Heights, Greater Heights Market, trends March 2026. In your price range, you're looking at the 1,800 to 2,500 square foot range. Beautifully renovated bungalows, some new construction townhomes, and a handful of new build single family with small yards. So when something good hits, it goes fast. You need to be pre-approved, pre-positioned, and ready to write a clean offer the day of showing. Oak Forest, both east and west sides, per HAR's Oak Forest, East Texas area, and Oak Forest, West Texas area market reports. This is the smart money play right now. Average prices in Oak Forest are running well below the heights, but the neighborhood has incredible upside. Top rated public schools, mature pecan trees, ranch style homes that have been quietly getting renovated for the last 15 years. In your budget, you can land a fully updated 3 to 4 bedroom on a real lot, something you cannot do in the Heights for the same money. If long term resale strength is what you care about, Oak Forest is on my short list every time. Timbergrove and Lazy Brook, smaller, tighter, more family oriented than the Heights, but right next door. You get the same access to the bayou trails, the same proximity to downtown and the Galleria, and a little more square footage for your dollar. Great public school options. Lower turnover means inventory can be thin, but when it shows up, it's worth jumping on. Memorial Villages and Memorial West per HAR's Memorial Villages and Memorial West market data. This is where the higher end of your budget goes furthest if you want big lots, established neighborhoods, and the best public school zoning in the city. You're trading the urban, walkable lifestyle of the Heights for tree lined streets, larger homes, country club energy, and one of the strongest long term resale stories in all of Houston. Memorial Villages includes Bunker Hill, Hedwig, Hillshire, Hunters Creek, Piney Point, and Spring Valley Village. Each one has its own personality. Each one has its own price point. Spring Branch. Per HAR's Spring Branch market report, the dark horse. This area has been transforming for the last decade. New construction popping up on every block, older homes getting torn down or rebuilt in a school district that's quietly investing heavily. In your price range, you can find a beautifully built new construction home with 3 to 4 bedrooms, a small yard, and easy access to I 10. It's not for everybody, but for the right buyer, Spring Branch is one of the best value plays inside the Beltway North Side, per HAR's North Side data. If you're an investor or you want to be in on the next inner loop appreciation story, the North Side is one to watch. It's not the right fit for every relocating family yet. But for buyers who want to be early on a neighborhood, this is the conversation. East End revitalized, active artist community, walkable to downtown, light rail access, a different kind of urban Houston experience, per HAR's East End revitalized market report, worth understanding. The point I want you to leave with, Houston is not one market, it's 25 markets glued together. The number you see on the news for the metro median doesn't apply to your transaction. What applies is the comp 3 doors down that closed last week. And that's the level of granularity you need from your agent. Now let's talk about why all this inventory is piling up. Houston added approximately 17,500 jobs in 2025. That's about a quarter of a typical year. According to the Real Deal's reporting on Homes.com analyst Itziar Aguirre, energy, finance, and manufacturing, three of our biggest industries, all shed workers. Oil and gas employment in the Houston area dipped 8% between November 2025 and February 2026, the steepest drop of any major industry in the metro, according to the Dallas Federal Reserve. Energy employment this February lagged the prior February by 7% per that same Dallas Fed data. Healthcare picked up some of the slack. The Texas Medical Center is still hiring. Logistics, distribution, and certain pockets of tech are growing. But the macro story is Houston is in a soft patch. Per Homes.com, some homeowners who had wanted to sell were waiting out the low mortgage rates they locked in during the pandemic. Many of those folks are now reaching the point where life changes, jobs, school zones, family are forcing the move regardless. That's what HAR analysts and Homes.com are calling pent-up sellers, and that's a big reason inventory keeps climbing. Here's the part where I want to be honest with you. This is not a crash. This is not 2008. Houston's economy is more diversified than it was even 10 years ago. We're not as oil dependent. Healthcare, the port, aerospace, distribution, these are real industries with real momentum. The Real Deal noted that, according to economists and local agents, a sustained increase in oil prices could eventually push Houston home values back up, but the city is no longer as sensitive to oil shocks as it once was. For context, hard data showed Houston closed out 2025 with its first annual median sales price decline since the pandemic. The median grew from 294,000 in 2021 to 330,000 in 2024, then dipped to 328,000 in 2025. That's per HAR, reported by The Real Deal in April 2026. What this is a window where buyers have leverage they haven't had in a long time, a window where sellers who want to actually sell need to price right, present right, and partner with somebody who can actually market and negotiate. The days of throwing a sign in the yard and getting 15 offers in a weekend, those days are not the current market. Today's market rewards strategy. All right. If you're relocating to Houston, here are the 5 things you have to know before you sign anything. This is the stuff that costs people real money when they don't have an agent who's paying attention. One, flood zones. Houston has been hit by Harvey, by Imelda, by Beryl, by countless 1,000 year and 500-year storms. The FEMA flood maps, that's the Federal Emergency Management Agency, matter. The historical flood data matters. Whether a property is in a 100-year, 500-year, or X zone is going to dictate your insurance premium for the entire time you own that home and your future buyer's premium when you go to sell it. I've walked clients away from beautiful Heights homes that were sitting in a flood zone that would have cost them tens of thousands over their hold period. I've also helped clients buy homes that flooded once a decade ago and have been fully mitigated since. Those are some of the best deals in town if you know what to look for. You need somebody who reads the maps from FEMA, knows the bayous, and isn't afraid to walk you off a bad deal. Two, Texas property taxes and the homestead exemption. Texas has no state income tax. That's the upside. The trade off is property taxes are higher than what most relocating buyers are used to. Per the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts and the Harris County Appraisal District, HCAD, inside the city of Houston, you'll see total property tax rates often running between 2.1 and 2.5% of assessed value, depending on the school district and any MUD or LID districts. The Texas homestead exemption can save you thousands per year, but it has to be filed with HCAD. There's a cap on annual increases in your appraised value once you've established homestead. That's the 10% homestead cap under Texas law. There are additional exemptions for over 65, disability, veterans, and surviving spouses, all detailed at the Texas Comptroller's website. If you're not getting walked through this before you write the offer, you're already losing money you'll never get back. 3. Mud taxes versus inside city taxes. If you're buying inside the 610 loop, you're inside the city of Houston, no mud. If you're buying in some of the master plan suburbs, Cinco Ranch, Sienna, Riverstone, Bridgeland, parts of the Woodlands, there's often a municipal utility district tax on top of the school and county taxes. Per the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, MUDs are political subdivisions that pay off the bonds that built the water and sewer infrastructure of that community. They can run anywhere from 20 cents to over $1 per $100 of value. They go down over time as the bonds get paid off, but you need to know exactly what the rate is, what stage the MUD is in, and what your real total tax burden is going to be before you commit. 4. HOA structure. Some Houston neighborhoods have powerful HOAs with strict architectural and deed restrictions. Memorial villages, parts of Bel Air, master planned communities. Others have basically no HOA at all. Large parts of the Heights, Oak Forest, Timbergrove, under Texas Property Code. Chapter 2, '09, HOAs in Texas have specific disclosure requirements at sale. If you want to add square footage, build a pool, paint your house a color, install a fence. The HOA rules can either make that easy or impossible. Some HOAs also have transfer fees at closing that surprise buyers and sellers if they don't read the documents. Read the docs or work with an agent who does it for you. 5. Hurricane insurance, wind and hail, and the rising cost of coverage. Houston insurance premiums have climbed steadily over the last few years thanks to the frequency of named storms. You need 3 policies you're underwriting at the same time as you underwrite the home purchase: standard homeowners, windstorm, and flood. The flood policy runs through the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, which is administered by FEMA. In coastal adjacent zones, windstorm may run through the Texas Windstorm Insurance Association, TWIA. Get quotes during your option period, not after. Build it into your monthly nut, not just your down payment. Quick story on flood zones and why this stuff is not theoretical. I had a client one time, family relocating to Houston, ready to write an offer on what they thought was the dream house. Inside the loop, the right elementary, the right square footage, even the right backyard for the dog. Everything checked out, except I checked the FEMA flood maps. Most agents would have looked at the seller's disclosure, seen no prior flooding, and called it a day. I went deeper, pulled the FEMA map, pulled the elevation certificate, pulled the historical claims data that the title company had access to. The property had taken on water during a storm a few years prior. It had been remediated, but the insurance picture going forward was going to be brutal. And worse, the resale story when they tried to sell in 5 or 6 years was going to be a fight. I told them the truth. We had a tough conversation. They were emotionally tied to the house, but the numbers said walk. So we walked. 2 weeks later, we found a comparable property 2 streets over, outside the floodplain, similar square footage, same school zone. Closed for slightly less than what they were going to pay on the first one, saved them what's going to add up to tens of thousands of dollars over the life of their ownership in insurance premiums alone, not even counting the resale impact. That's negotiation. Negotiation isn't just about the price you write on the contract. It's about the deal you don't write, the mistake you don't make, the downside you protect against before it costs you. When you work with me, I'm not in your team for one weekend. I'm on your team for the entire window of decision making before you write, during option, through inspection, through close, and after, when your homestead has to be filed with HCAD, when the property tax appraisal arrives in April, when you're thinking about whether to refinance or hold. That's the difference between an agent and a fiduciary partner. Let me close with where this market is headed. The single biggest variable for the next 12 months is interest rates. Per HAR's Dr. Ted Jones, global uncertainty, particularly tied to the Iran conflict, is creating volatility. If mortgage rates ease back even a quarter or half a point, the pent-up demand from buyers who've been on the sidelines for 2 years is going to come back hard. Houston has more inventory than any other major metro right now, but inventory burns off fast when demand returns. If rates hold or move up, we stay in this current rhythm: inventory climbing, prices moderating, days on market lengthening, and well-priced, well-located inner loop homes continuing to outperform the broader metro. Hurricane season starts June 1st per the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. NOAA is also watching what could be a developing El Nino pattern in the Pacific, which historically tends to weaken Atlantic hurricane activity. That's a watch this trend for Houston homeowners, for insurance markets, and for anybody buying in coastal adjacent zip codes. The energy industry is the wild card. Per the Dallas Federal Reserve, a sustained move in oil prices changes Houston's job picture, and that changes the housing picture 2 to 3 quarters later. My honest take: if you're a buyer who's been waiting, you don't need to time the exact bottom. You need to find the right house in the right neighborhood at the right price with the right negotiation. That window is open right now. It will not be open forever. If you're a seller, pricing strategy is everything. The days of asking whatever you want and waiting for a Californian to overpay are over. You need a real pricing strategy, professional preparation, and an agent who knows how to actually market your home in a 4.7-month inventory environment. That's the current HAR number. The good news: homes that are priced right and presented right are still selling, still drawing multiple offers in the inner loop, and still hitting strong numbers. The heights at 14 days on market is the proof. The market is rewarding strategy. It's punishing laziness. That's where I come in. That's going to do it for your Houston Pulse Market Minute for May 19th, 2026. I'm Armando Espinosa with eXp Realty. All of the data in today's episode came directly from the Houston Association of Realtors, Homes.com, The Real Deal, the Dallas Federal Reserve, the National Association of Realtors, FEMA, the Texas Comptroller, and the Harris County Appraisal District. You can verify everything I just told you for yourself. That's how this show is going to run. Real data, real sources, real talk. If you're relocating to Houston, if you're thinking about selling, or if you just want to know what your home is actually worth in today's market, here's how you reach me. Phone or text 281-455-8412. Website selltexasrealtor.com. That's SELL texasrealtor.com. It's Instagram and TikTok, Armando Houston Homes. One word. If this episode helped you understand the Houston market better, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop your neighborhood in the comments. Tell me what you want me to break down next week. I read every comment and I take requests. Join me back here on the Houston Pulse Market Minute every week for the real data, the real talk, and the real Houston real estate strategy. No hype, no fluff, just the truth. Buyer side, seller side, and everything in between. I'll see you next time.